Thank you. Welcome to the August 7, 2019 Conservation Commission meeting, and we have in attendance
Elisa.
Elisa Hurd.
Thank you.
Mary.
Mary Taggart.
I got it, yes. And Ken Baptiste, Sandy Slavin, and Agent Dave Prichette. We have some continued hearings. One for the South Coast Hospital Group. Is there anybody here for that? I'm seeing none. I'd take a motion to continue until 8:21.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. It's continued to 8:21. The next hearing is for Ken Nelligan, is requested to be continued until September 4. I need a motion for that.
So moved.
I have a motion. I have a second. It's continued until September, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. It's continued until 9/4. The next hearing is Scott Blagden.
Blagden.
It was requested to continue until August 21. I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained. It continued until August 21st. The next hearing is David and Susan Broderick. Anybody here for that? Thank you. Please identify yourself for the record.
I'm Bill Madden from GAF Engineering here on behalf of David and Susan Broderick.
Okay, Mr. Pichette will read.
I have some revised plans that Dave briefly and I talked about this afternoon.
Okay.
I did get those somewhat squared away
Okay.
based on our discussion. Do you want full size or half size?
Half size. Thank you.
Here's a plug.
Clean my glasses.
Yep.
This hearing was continued from last week. We have some new plans, and Mr. Pichette will read to the project.
Okay, so this project site is at 14 Widows Cove Road, and this is a note application that's being filed in response to an enforcement order that was issued at this property for some unpermitted work that involved the alteration of a coastal bank and the installation of a partial stone revetment on the coastal bank. So an enforcement order was issued to cease and desist the activity at the site, and the commission had requested that a notice of intent be filed to restore the coastal bank to its original condition. At the last meeting, we had a plan which showed sort of a partial remediation, but requested to leave the stone in place. The commission did not agree with that, and so we do now have a revised plan that's been submitted, which does show a restoration of the coastal bank back to a slope vegetated bank as it was prior to the violation. So it's proposed to remove the stone that was put in and then regrade the slope as shown on the plan. It's approximately a 2-to-1 slope, and then plant that slope with the vegetation as specified on the plan, which is native plant material. When I met with Bill today earlier, there was a few things that were not shown on the plan, which included the contours that were not shown, and there was an area to the right-hand side which did not really include any planting to be done. So it looks like he's made some modifications to the plan to include those features. This is the first we're seeing of it right at the moment, so if the commission wants to ask any questions or have Bill explain it, then we can do that, and I'll take a look at it as well.
Thank you. Bill, comments, please?
I apologize, first of all, for the late submission of the plan. I realize it is the first time that the commission has looked at the most recent revised drawing. But we did listen and heard what you said at our last meeting, and we did, I spoke with the client. We eliminated all the hard armor structure that was desired to be left in place. We're showing all that to be removed from the site and then regrading the slope to a 2-to-1 slope. It'll likely involve the need to bring in some sand material. I'm not certain whether there's enough there to do the job. You might recall it is a fairly steep exposed soil surface that's there. So if there was the need to bring some additional material in, we would want to ensure that it meets similar grain size as the soil that's on the slope. What we did do is add the contouring to show to reflect the 2-to-1. It matches up with the detail that's shown on the profile section, and then we indicate the planting of that section. You can see on the plan in front of you the area to the far left. That was an area that was cut, but it was not. The root mass was not removed from any of from the plant material that's there. It is showing some signs of rejuvenation, and our recommendation there would just be to clean some of the debris out of there, some of the dead vegetation, and let that portion of the site rejuvenate on its own. As we move to the east on the plan, the slope is regraded and it's planted with a series of salt-tolerant coastal types of materials. So we show inkberry, beach plum, and bayberry on that slope. Then as we head to where the stairs are, that was probably the least disturbed portion of the site, and we are indicating to loam and seed that area. The area from the steps, we just regraded that, tried to regrade it similar to what the site once exhibited for a slope. I think it's a little flatter than what had been there previously, but that's what we're showing as of this point in time, and we show that area to the right of the path that comes off the stone steps to be planted with American beach grass. So we've selected, I think, proper material for that slope restoration. We've kept a 4-foot flat area at the toe of the slope. That was the way the site was to some degree when we designed the pier for the house. We did also receive authorization to put a 4-foot wide wooden walkway across there. So we researched what we had for our photographs and what have you. We would like to just level that off and install the walkway, the wooden walkway, as shown on the original plans that we submitted and was authorized by the order of conditions. But that's, I think, the short story to the long delay in getting this back in front of you.
Couple questions.
Yeah. Would you like to
No,
ask?
there's a
Yes,
stairs.
please, go ahead.
On the plan where the wooden boardwalk was going to go, is that still proposed or not?
I was just leaving that as permitted under the original order of conditions, just to the extent that it was allowed.
Right, which is fine. It's just, if it's going to be done, then it probably should be shown on the plan. So, because right now it doesn't really indicate that it's going to be done that way.
Right.
So that's why I asked. I just wanted to know if that was still part of the plan or not.
Well, I was viewing this as more of as a restoration plan. So when we put the sleepers down to lay the decking, you know, we'd like to have that on a nice level surface. And I think what this plan does is accomplishes establishing the base for which to place that boardwalk. And I didn't know if we wanted to, since we have to issue an order for this work, and we already have an order in place for the boardwalk, I guess I was just trying to use this plan as the restoration and the dock and pier plan as the order of condition authorizing the boardwalk.
Okay.
Was my thoughts on it, and certainly it's up to you guys to decide.
Any questions from the board?
No.
Ken? Mary?
Questions?
Melissa, any questions?
No.
Please. Give me a second, this is the old one. This is the existing.
Oh, yeah, I do have one.
Yeah. So that boardwalk is going over the 4-foot path, you've got the walk area, is that boardwalk, right? Am I reading?
Yeah, I think it ends pretty much where that stone wall ends on both plans.
Yep.
Yeah, yes.
Yep. Yeah, at that particular time, the only access down the slope was that existing granite stairway,
Yeah.
and nothing to connect the stairway to the boardwalk, correct?
For the most part, yes.
That's been the old plan.
The granite is fairly new.
No, the granite existed, the granite stairs to remain,
Yes.
they were there, correct?
I
No.
think
I
that,
walked down them.
That's
I
before.
think, I'm not sure when they were put in, but I believe they were put in as part of the work that was proposed on the
Right.
site. The existing wood stairs that are to the left of the
Right.
granite stairs, those, I'm certain, were there originally. I think these,
Existing wood steps were there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they've been replaced with granite steps,
Yes.
stairs.
Next to them.
Next to them.
They're right next door to them.
It's no big deal.
Wow. We have a bunch of plantings,
I was,
100 beach plum, and that will be at the lower end of the slope, if I'm reading this correctly?
it'll be across the entire slope. It'll go from the toe at elevation 5 all the way to the top at elevation 17 or 18.
With a bunch of bayberry and inkberry intertwined?
They're bunches, they're basically groups of each material. They're separated into groups as opposed to intermingled together.
Okay. I'm going to ask a question. How are they going to be watered to maintain them? I'm concerned that if they're just planted and and water is not given to them, they won't survive.
There's an existing garden faucet at the top of the slope that
See
exists there.
that.
So that would be the source of the water for the watering.
Is it possible we can condition that they will be watered in a timely and appropriate manner to continue to live? I mean, is it something we can say that,
if they don't live, is there something that
oh, I'm sure
we're
if they
after
don't
a
live, we
year?
can say that they would be
Yeah.
replaced if they don't live in a year? I mean, we can
Right.
condition that.
Yeah, that can be conditioned as part of the monitoring for the project.
So they're going to have to bring heavy machinery at the top of the slope in order to remove all those existing stones and to add soil in order to do the slope?
They may need to add some soil. We know, I'm thinking just by the sheer vertical face that it might be necessary to add additional material to achieve that 2-to-1 slope.
Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak for or against this project? Do you want to
If you-
continue?
If you want more time to really look at the plan and understand it, make sure you don't have any further comments, then, you know, again, that's up to the commission.
The erosion control barriers will be just the wattle? Or are you gonna put in, what are we using for an erosion control at the bottom of the slope?
There was some erosion control there, but that might have to be added to because that may not be in a decent condition
says-
anymore.
Yeah, existing straw wattle and silk fence.
Right.
So you might
Do we
want
want to,
wire hay bales.
put in hay bales? Because that is a heavy slope and will do a lot
Very
of
heavy
erosion.
slope.
Can,
Yeah.
I think I'd like to condition that the hay bales be in addition to the straw wattle, and the silk fence stay.
On that, Sandy, are you putting down that it'll be monitored
Yep,
in a year?
water and monitor condition of plants, 12 months. Anything else? Nothing from the public, so if everybody, are you comfortable reviewing this, that you want to continue, or do you think you'd like to close and vote?
Just get it over with.
Close and vote.
Okay, then I'll need a motion to close the hearing. I have a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
I heard a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, the hearing is closed.
No, we need to.
Before, just to comment,
Yeah.
when we talking about loam and seed, it's got to be well-known that this is not fertilized with high
Yeah.
nitrogen.
Yes.
An order of conditions say low release, slow release, slow nitrogen on all the grasses.
That's typically what your
Yes.
order condition
exactly.
states.
But, yes,
Yep,
I just wanted
that's
to
fine.
repeat it.
No,
But,
that's
and
fine.
even here where there are no grasses, where these plantings are going, do you want any type of, anything said there?
Do we normally fertilize?
Well, I think the same condition would apply to the whole site.
Okay.
All right,
This is
so we close the
grass.
hearing. I need a motion. What do you want to do? I need
I
a
think we-
motion to grant with the
I
normal
would-
conditions plus the things we've talked
I,
about.
I would have a motion to grant with our regular contingencies and the ones that we spoke of.
That includes the additional of the hay bales,
Yes?
the watering, and the monitoring of the condition of the plants within 12 months.
Yes.
And anything that's dead gets replaced.
Second.
I guess that's the motion. I heard a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained. Thank you.
Thanks very much for your time. Appreciate the consideration, given the short notice to you folks.
We already hit them with the $300
Aye.
fine, right? Okay,
Thanks very much.
thank you.
All right. You ready to begin? Can I take this home?
Yes, I'm ready for the next, for the
All right.
first hearing. Thank you.
Notice of public hearing. Pursuant to the provisions of the Wareham, of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6. Public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass., on Wednesday, August 7th, 2019, at 7:15 p.m. on the request for determination of applicability for the Town of Wareham Municipal Maintenance Department, 95 Charge Pond Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, for maintenance activities along the onset bluffs as depicted on the site plan located on Assessor's Map 1, lots 1048 and 1054, Onset Bluffs, Onset, Mass.
Thank you. Anybody here for this, to speak for this project?
Dave Menard, Municipal Maintenance Director.
Thank you, Dave. Mr. Pichette will read to the project. Here's your documents. want another one or share?
Where are we?
Okay, so the project site is the Onset Bluffs, and the proposed work is for maintenance activities on the bluffs, which is on a coastal bank and also in the buffer zone to the coastal bank. The application is to do work involving maintenance work that includes cutting back vegetation growing into the stairway accesses, into any sidewalks, cutting back limbs that may be blocking signage along the whole area, having the ability to cut down dead trees within that area or trees that are damaged from storms, and also trimming dead branches out of the trees. Also trimming back any suckers or shoots that are sprouting out of the trees that are undesirable. It also includes the hand removal of invasive species like bittersweet that may be damaging desired trees and shrubs. Any cut materials as part of the work would be removed and not discarded on the bluffs. This work is generally regarded as maintenance activity, so I would recommend the approval of it with the issuance of a negative determination number 2.
Ms. Menard, anything you'd like to add?
Yes, I would. The current map shows from like Sunset Boulevard all the way down to Stonebridge, and I would like to extend that area to go to all the way down to the boat ramp. There's some staircases down in that area and stuff like that that I'd like to clear also.
I guess you heard from several of the people that live along East Boulevard.
That's correct.
We are limiting, we're not cutting for Vista.
Yeah.
We're cutting for the specific list of activities that are in the project, that were summarized in the project, right?
Correct, yes.
Will you be removing the dead branches that people have cut for Vista?
Yeah, that'd be part of it,
incorrectly?
yeah. The dead trees that are laying down on there.
The
We'll be
limbs that were
removing all
cut.
that stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And most of the work will be done from the top of the bluff?
Yes, I believe we can get everything from the top of the bluffs.
No machinery
there's-
on the beach?
No, I hope not, no. I would say no. Hopefully, we should be able to get everything from the top.
Is there a reason why, I'm looking at, we don't go behind the pump house? I noticed
It
the,
ends over there, right? Is that as far as the
Yeah.
excluded area?
yeah,
But was that part of it, like with the Buzzards Bay and all that stuff? They
no,
have
that would be, you're not doing anything in front of what's being worked on by the bathhouse
Yep,
or the pier, and it excludes the area in front of the pump house. That doesn't need anything there, does it?
I think it's
We
pretty
looked
clear
up to
over
the
there.
pump house, huh?
By Kenny's? By the
Well, by
taffy place?
stashes, yes, yeah.
Or whatever it
Okay.
is now.
And that's
So-
under water pollution's jurisdiction also, so if they would have to come forward if they wanted to trim around their station or whatever,
All right,
too. That's their little spot, so.
okay. Questions on the board?
Yes.
Yes,
Do you-
please.
Are you the person who determines what should be cut and not cut?
Pretty much so, yeah. I try to go
much
down
so.
there and, sometimes these guys get a little overzealous and, they trim a
Yeah.
little bit much, but yeah, basically I'm the responsible person, party for that, yes. And I mean, I've gone over it with Dave in, pretty much detail what we're looking to do,
It just
so.
doesn't have a great history.
I know,
That
our
whole
department.
trimming and
Yep.
everything, not a great history.
Yeah, I realize that.
Different administration.
Yep.
We gotta tread lightly
Anything-
over there.
Anything else? Mary?
No.
Questions?
No, I have no questions.
So we really are limited to what the project detail, what Mr. Bichette has
Yep,
yeah,
I get that, yep, right here. And, with the extension,
with the extension.
Yeah, you might want to just present a print with that on there sort of for the record.
That's a good idea. That's
Yeah.
a really good idea.
Give us another view of Onset going from Sunset all the way down to the boat ramp around the corner of Stonebridge. Just so
Okay,
we
copy
have it
file.
for the record that we've extended the,
Don't mind if you do,
Right.
just
yeah.
okay,
put it on paper, that's all.
shouldn't be a problem.
Will there be any When it says removal of invasive plants, are you going to do any digging or just cutting?
Just trimming, cutting, loppers, things of that nature. I'm not going to be no
So we're
digging.
not going to disturb any roots at
Nope.
all, even with the
No,
invasives?
we'll just cut back what we can with loppers and stuff. If it's too deep in a bush or something, we'll cut the top of it and trim it back. That's all we'll do.
Now, how long ago did we do maintenance along this area?
As far
4
as,
years ago? We've done this, we did something, they came before us regarding the skunks and all the stuff that were on the bluffs, and I thought we did some
That
clearing at
was,
that time.
yeah, that was in a limited area, I guess if you want to call it to the west of the bathhouse. There was a stretch of that bluff area that there was some work permitted to be done, but yes, that was probably 4 to 6 years ago now, I would guess.
yeah.
So is this something that we want, municipal maintenance to come before us every 3 years with a maintenance plan?
Well, these approvals are good for 3 years,
Okay.
so, yeah, just so we get updated on what's being done and so forth. If it's the same, then it would be the same application.
Same application, probably, okay.
So we're going to trim the vegetation so we can go up and down the sidewalks and the stairways, see the signs, remove
And-
those suckers at the bottom of the trees and cut back invasives and remove dead branches and limbs and dead trees as needed along this whole stretch.
Yep.
Does this not sound more like they're going to remove by tools the invasives? as
Sorry,
a-
into the mic, I can't hear you.
the, it looks to me like you want to remove the invasive whole plant. It's not just cutting it back.
No, I'm just going to cut back. We're not going to tear none of them, because most of them stuff are like in bushes, and we're going to cut back what we can on the invasive stuff.
So is-
Whatever's,
And-
we're not going to try digging them up or nothing like
Okay,
that.
so this says, "The removal of invasive plant species shall be done by hand with hand tools." So
Yeah.
that does say removal,
Hand tools,
not just trimming.
So we
Well, that's
should
with
say
hand
cut.
tools, cutting, yeah.
Can we remove the word remove and put in its place cut?
And do what you want, madam.
No, but remove gives me the same thing, because if I want to remove something, I dig it up.
That's right.
So, just if we could change the word from remove to trim, cut?
Yeah, that was the intent.
Yeah,
Okay, I just didn't get that.
okay. Is there anybody in the audience would like to speak against this project? Anybody in the audience would like to speak for this project? Please come forward and identify yourself.
From East Boulevard.
Yeah,
My name's Tom McManus.
okay, Tom, I'm Sandy
Hi,
Slade.
Sandy, how are you? First of all, I'd like to thank David, and yourself. We appreciate the effort to have things done on all of the bluffs in Onset. And I appreciate the scope of the work as it's been described. And quite honestly, it's better than nothing. We will take what we can get. However, I would like to point out to you that the effort to save the trees on East Boulevard, which everybody wants, without some serious work on that hill, those trees are dying. They're being choked, the life is being choked out of them by the invasive plants there. There's a tree, I was telling Dave this earlier today, there's a tree in front of 18 East Boulevard that has a nice curve to it, leans out over the bank, and it's already got a scar in its trunk. Last summer, the lowest branch that was on it, that hung out over the cliff, down over the beach, was grabbed by the vine, and it pulled it off. Ripped it right down, and it's down on the side of the hill. The stem or trunk that is still left of that branch was left exposed and untreated, and the squirrels are now making a home in the stump of that tree. And that's not the only one. Those trees are being killed by their surroundings,
So-
not by anything that anybody, it's, I guess, the neglect of everybody.
Okay, so by now, the cutting of the invasives will take care of that vine that's wrapping around it.
Right, it'll take care of it until it grows up to that height again.
There's not much we can do about bittersweet.
Right, no, I understand. So I am grateful, I want to say thank you for what you're doing, but more needs to be done. And a review every 3 years, I think, would be great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Thank you, Tom. Anybody else like to speak for this project? I'm seeing none. Want to close the hearing?
Sure, I move to close the hearing.
We have a motion to close the hearing. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained. The hearing is closed.
Okay, so we need to pass a motion.
We need a motion for a -2.
-2. So I move that we accept this project with a -2.
I have a motion.
With the addition,
With- go ahead.
so with-
that plan, just so it's on paper, that's all.
That's with an addition of a
Yes.
revised plan.
Yeah,
To
the
include
extension is okay, just make sure it's on paper.
Okay, so I have that motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained. Good cutting.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Next. You ready, Sandy?
Yes, please.
Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protected Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. On Wednesday, August 7, 2019, at 7:15 p.m. on the request for determination of applicability for Leah Abbott, 63 Oak Street, Wareham, Mass. 02571, for the placement of footings located on Assessor's Map 39, Lot T43, 63 Oak Street, Wareham, Massachusetts.
Thank you. Anybody here to represent the project, please come forward and identify yourself for the record. We do have your green cards.
Same set, they just do it.
Reinforced beams from water side throughout.
Keith, you're,
Leah Abbott.
Leah,
What center
Mr.
beam
Bichette will
throughout.
speak to the project. And here's the...
Sounds like you need support.
This project site is at 63 Oak Street, and this project involves repairing a portion of the existing foundation of the house there, and this is in the buffer zone to a coastal beach, and also within a coastal flood zone, Zone VE Elevation 17. The applicant is proposing renovations to the existing dwelling, which will require improvements to the foundation. This will involve excavation to pour a new footing along the wall of the house that is closest to the coastal beach, and then some individual footings within the footprint of the house to provide the required support for the renovations. 9 sonotube footings would also be installed for side decks and stairs to provide access to the structure. The work would be approximately 35 feet to the edge of the beach. There's no grade changes proposed. Erosion control would be placed between the work and the resource area.
Freeze again.
So I would recommend the approval of the project with a negative determination number 2.
Freeze as far as the
Thank you. Leah, is there anything you'd like to add? Comment on it?
No, I think everything is-
No.
Didn't we see this property not too long ago?
No, it was 5 years ago.
Okay, 5 years. Wasn't it going to be a replacement?
Right, I was
Oh,
going to
I'm
tear it
just-
down.
Okay, that, I'm trying to say, I know I've seen this site
Yeah.
before. Of course, I drive by it every day, but I,
Nothing on the trees.
okay. Any questions on the board?
Nope.
I do.
Okay.
My question is, I have a lot of pictures here, I believe you brought.
I went and snapped some pictures today because
Okay.
I thought we were going to talk about the trees that are there
That's
because
what
they
I-
are definitely,
Okay, I just didn't understand why we had trees.
That's
That's okay.
Yeah, some of the trees are going to have to be trimmed because obviously when the construction occurs,
Yeah.
they're going to be high enough where they're going to be hitting the work, so they're going to have to trim that back. So that's understood that that would have to happen, so.
That's trimming. Is there any tree removal?
Yeah.
I
would
personally
think
would
so.
like to see the two closest to the beach removed. Only, I did take a quick copy, I'll share it. This is what the house will actually look like once it's built or renovated. So the second floor is going to be there. That's why I took pictures of the canopies of the
Pass
trees.
that down.
where they definitely will impact
The trees will be
the
on the
second
way.
floor.
Yeah.
So are those trees, yes, are those trees within the 30-foot no-work zone?
Yeah,
How far back are they
A
from?
couple of them, I think they would be.
yeah.
This one that's close to the house is a bit of a hazard as it is, so that would have to come down, especially with the construction proposed.
And there's just, as far as trimming them back, I'm happy to trim them back. That's not an issue. I'm just concerned that in doing some of the trimming, it's going to leave the trees really kind of lopsided, especially the two in front. And, I've got neighbors here, and the trees are actually, branching out. One of them is actually hitting Mrs. McKay's roof. So I want to get that down and out of the way, as much as possible, so that, and I think they all have ants in them, so.
Well, I would be concerned if there's going to be machinery down there to redo the foundation, some digging. There could very well be some disturbance of the root systems in order to do the
Well,
the
the
new footing.
The foundation work's going to be somewhat limited. It's not going to be extensive, so.
Right,
I'm
it's-
not expecting them to really carve the whole site up like you would expect on a new construction or something like that.
No, any
I think they
construction or footings that are going in are just sonotubes along the side of the house, and those
Right.
actually can be, I don't want to put, yeah.
Yeah, but
As
the-
long as I don't have to do it, but there is footings under the house in the corners that are going to have to be poured to support the steel frame that needs to be put up.
house, block out the view over there.
And turn it sideways.
So, ask again, are you requesting, I know you talked about trimming, but are you requesting that the two trees closest to the beach be removed in order for,
I'd like to have them removed. I've looked into having people, just so that I could get all my ducks in a row. I'm having a problem finding someone who can come down just because of where the trees are, and having access.
and how to get down there with any type of machinery or bucket?
Yeah, and, it's hard to find somebody who climbs to take the trees down. So I do have somebody in mind that may be willing to do that.
Comments?
And if I can just add, I'm more than happy to have the trees down, but I will be more than happy, and I intend to replace them, not with the huge ones that are there, but to put trees in just to, because I think the property needs it.
Comments?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think for some of these projects where the work's going to be so close or they're going up with the structure, tree work has to occur for it to happen. Otherwise, you can't build it, you know? So there is going to have to be some activity done with that. Now, the one that's right up to the house, to me, is the one that's the most significant. The other one is close, but may not need to necessarily come totally down. I'd like to see maybe
Okay.
that trimmed up and then see how it is, and then make a decision afterwards if further work needs to happen to it.
On the tree that's on the
It's more
south
closer to
side, the south side of the house,
I
as opposed to the north side?
gave you my,
Yeah,
if you're looking at the house from the water,
You can come up and show, point them out.
it's not, that one I can have the branches trimmed on that, but it's the one on the other side that is going to really impact the delivery of the steel for the frame.
One on the north side. The one closer to the center of town.
No,
No.
Why don't you have her come up and point it
Okay.
out?
David, I'm sorry, Cindy, how does it work where nothing is said about the tree here?
Sorry?
Nothing is said about the tree in her paperwork.
Yep.
So we're discussing it now. Do we add that in?
Could very well, if we decide to allow the trimming of the tree doesn't need our approval. It's the removal of the tree that
Right.
would need our approval.
And the one that's right 30 feet from the beach?
It's like that big
I
one
just
that has
don't
to
know,
be
you
removed
know?
if they're gonna
Yeah.
build this second
Right.
story.
South side,
Absolutely.
Which is on the south side. You face west. If you face west, if you face west, it's the one on your left side is the one on the south side.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to try trimming first and see where it goes?
I would say, because that one's right.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I would say just trim them, both of them, and see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't like that idea.
Is there
Get rid of
anybody in the, oh, want to take your,
That's,
Leah, you want to take this back? Is there anybody here any other questions on the board?
So are we thinking now that we're going to put in that she can remove the one that's the very closest to the house,
Just
or are
trim
we just trimming?
Trimming. We will see where it goes. Because Mr. Bichette has the ability to, without a hearing, to determine if a tree needs to be removed for safety reasons.
Looks like it would be in the
Okay.
way of the structure, then, wouldn't it?
All right,
We'll
that's
see
fine.
what happens.
They can call.
Anybody in the audience who'd like to speak against this project? Speak for this project? I'm seeing none. I don't know why
Aye.
everybody's here. But okay,
So are you asking me to close this hearing?
yes, I'm asking for a motion to
Could
close the
we
hearing.
move to close the
I have
hearing?
a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, the hearing is closed.
Now, we need a
Your
motion.
wish.
We need, so we have a motion to make that we will approve, it has to be a
Negative.
-2,
We have a
right,
motion to approve the project as a -2.
-2, absolutely. You're right,
I have a motion.
you do, and you
Yes.
have a second.
I heard a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Thank you. Before you start any work, see Mr. Bichette for your documents and stuff like that.
Okay,
But
and
you
what,
got,
quick
you-
question, what does -2 mean?
you got it. That's just the way it is.
Okay,
I know it sounds I know it's counterintuitive, but that's just how it's called it.
thank you.
There you go.
There you go.
Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multi-Service Center at 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass., on Wednesday, August 7th at 7:15 p.m. on the notice of intent, Colin and Ann E. McNay, care of Schneider, Davignon, and Leone, Incorporated, P.O. Box 4801, County Road, Mattapoisett, Massachusetts 02739, for proposed coastal bank restoration work located on Assessors Map 32, Lot 1003, 49 Warren Point Road, Wareham, Massachusetts.
Thank you. Please identify yourself for the record.
Dave DeVignan from Schneider, DeVignan Leone representing.
Okay. Mr. Bichette will read to the project. On his-
Okay, sign.
This project location is at 49 Warren Point Road, and this application also is being filed in response to a violation that occurred at this site that involved the removal of trees and other vegetation along the top of the coastal bank and within the buffer zone to the coastal bank. So the applicant was directed to file a restoration plan to address the violation, which is what we have in front of us. The application proposes a restoration plan to replant the disturbed area with native vegetation according to the proposed planting scheme. I've taken a look at that and agree with the species that are proposed at the site and the planting locations. There's a combination of trees, shrubs, and ground cover that is proposed within the disturbed area. Plantings would be nursery stock plant material. We did get a DEP file number for this project, so I would recommend the issuance of the order of conditions with the standard conditions and the added conditions that the plants be monitored for 2 growing seasons to ensure survivability, and that if some of the plantings die, that they be replaced, and also that there be no further cutting of the vegetation on the coastal bank itself.
Thank you. If you're going to want a conversation, can you please take it out in the hall? Thank you. Would you like to add anything?
No, Madam Chair. I think he outlined it quite well.
Yes. So we know where the top of the coastal bank is, so there's no more mowing, correct? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. Well, they're going to replant that area that was
Yep.
cut that shouldn't have been. And I was just throwing that condition in, so it was in writing that they should not do any additional cutting along that bank or on the bank.
How do they get down to the water? They have steps and stuff, but aren't we going to give them a path to mow to get there?
Well, there's an existing path there now. That's not part of the planting area.
Okay. All right. Questions on the board?
None.
None. Anybody in the audience would like to speak for or against this project? I'm seeing none.
Yes, Mary, sit up and
Yeah, Mary, your
sit up
turn.
and make a closing of the hearing. Come on.
I have a motion to close the hearing.
There you go, you do.
I do. I have a motion to close the hearing.
Say second.
I need a second.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, the hearing is closed.
So now,
All right.
so we're going to, will this be a negative 2?
No.
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 This is a notice of intent, so it's a,
Oh, so we
with
don't
some
need that.
Orders.
Standard orders with some extra specials.
Let's accept this one with standard orders and something special. Got it.
The something special is to monitor for 2 growing seasons, replace plants as needed, and no cutting of grass on the coastal bank. That was the rest of the motion.
Grass or
moved.
vegetation.
Grass or vegetation on the coastal bank.
So moved.
That was the motion, and I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained.
Thank you very much.
See Mr. Bichette before you start digging holes. Thank you. Okey dokey, this is moving along very well.
I don't know. It must be my
All
birthday
right.
party.
Oh, all right.
We have an extension request for Nick Fernandez.
Yes.
And identify yourself, please.
Nick Fernandez, the property's at 30 12th Street. I'm currently a resident of Sandwich, Massachusetts right now.
Thank you. Mr. Bichette will speak to the extension request.
Yes, this is an order of conditions that the commission issued for this location at 30 12th Street in Onset to construct a home on this property. There's an old existing foundation there that would be removed and then a new house built as shown on the approved plan. Mr. Fernandez has not been able to get the project started, and the order is about to expire, and he's requesting a 1-year extension in order to allow him to proceed with that. So I would recommend the issuance of the 1-year extension as requested.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? You have your 1 year.
Thank you. Greatly appreciated. Do I need to do anything with you?
You'll get a document in the mail, or if you prefer to pick it up, we could call you when it's ready, whatever.
When it's ready, I'll pick it up.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, enforcement orders. Want to do that one next? Might as well. Kevin Nevis, 91 Glen Charlie Road. Ms. Bichette will tell us what's happening. Please identify yourself.
And Nevs.
Thank you.
Okay, this property location is at 91 Glen Charlie Road, and there was some work done at this site which involved the removal of lawn area and the placement of sand within the buffer zone to Spectacle Pond that was not reviewed or approved by the Conservation Commission. There was also some paving work that was done within the 100-foot area as well. So an enforcement order was issued to the property owner because of this and asked to come to the meeting to discuss and explain the situation. Again, this is a project that should have had a formal review by the commission prior to any work taking place there. So the owner's here to discuss the matter and more or less explain what happened, and we can go from there.
Okay, thank you very much. I just have a couple, I'm going to try to keep it as short as I can. So I got a small statement to read and then show the pictures, if that's okay.
Go ahead. Yes.
So I'm here in regard to the notice. I was prepared to give a longer presentation, but I try to keep it as short as possible. After speaking with an employee from the environmental, they told me to keep it to the point, and that's what I'm going to do. And it's all about harassment from the Earls that are over here, the accusers, bestowed upon me and my family and my wife, and my children.
Up to the point of the,
Here it is. I have a small property in a small little cottage with very little land, with only 16 feet of waterfront. In reference to the vegetation, I would only say I have not removed living vegetation. I only removed vegetation that appeared to be dead, that my neighbors on the right have been asking me to remove it since I moved there, because it's dead vegetation. As to, and I'll show you the pictures. This is the little cottage that I own with the 16-foot waterfront.
is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I want to, in reference to the sand I brought in the sand for what I thought was a legitimate reason. The Earl's cottage is 8 feet from my cottage, and their cottage has a full cellar, which is below the water table. So when it rains, it fills up, and they have a sub pump that drains directly onto my property. Through the years, it's kept my side wet. That is the reason why I brought in sand, since I noticed a big difference since I have brought in the sand, and so I have the pictures for that. There's also the house drains on my property too from the roof, so it goes directly on my little spot that I have, so it's always wet there. And you can see where I have the, shows where the water's coming right from their house, right directly on my property.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's a sun pump.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, as far as the pavement is concerned, I bought a small 2-man hot tub, and the same day I bought it, there was somebody taking it 2 houses over, and I guess I should have gotten a permit, and I asked him if he could put a little spot there behind my house so I could put the hot tub on, and here's a picture of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my closing thing is that I know I've made some mistakes.
Please, no more comments back there. If you want to talk, go in the hallway. We do hear you up here. Thank you.
I would just like to say I regret not attaining the permits for these infractions, and I can only promise to get the necessary permits if I need one in the future. I do feel, though, the Earls should be held responsible and
I'm
accountable.
sorry. I'm not here to talk about your neighbors. I'm here to talk about your project. Thank
Well,
you.
they did the exact same thing I did, and
Yeah.
they're the accusers.
Well, I don't know
I can
who is or is
I
not.
can prove it.
We're here to focus on this tonight. If you have a complaint that you'd like to submit, you can, and then we can address that
Okay,
at a future
sure.
discussion. But we have to focus on this
Yeah,
for
I
tonight.
got it.
So as far as what was done or why it was done, you know, I understand you have some reasons for why you did what you did, but the issue is that it should have had review and approval first for any kind of work that's done like that within a certain proximity to the pond.
I understand that
So,
now.
you know, as far as that goes, at this point, you'd be required to file for an application, even for the work that's already been done, because some of that work may not have been approved in the first place, okay, if it was requested. So that's what the commission has to do, is review that, and then they'll make a decision. If it's something that they could have approved or would have approved, then it would be allowed to be left as is. If it's something they would not have approved, then you may have to remove some material there. That's going to be the commission's decision once they review your application, okay?
Sure.
So that's really where things stand and why you've been asked to come to the commission tonight. And we haven't had a chance to speak really, and so, you know, I could have gone over this with you, but we just haven't had a chance to speak yet.
Well,
So,
I came by, but I
Yeah, I
didn't want to
think-
bother you on your day off.
yeah, and I was out, I think, when you came by, but we can meet, you know, after today and go over your property, and I can go over the application process with you so you understand what it is. And then you would have to submit that, and we'd have a formal public hearing like we've had with some of
I
these
see
other
it, yeah.
projects.
I
Okay?
understand.
Yeah.
And I do apologize for not having the knowledge of knowing that I needed. In hindsight of putting that small pavement in, I realized that maybe I made a mistake on that.
Right.
But
Well,
as far as the sand, everybody has sand, and they all bring in sand. You can see the property over there, it's all the same.
right. There's a lot of sites, I think, that have had sand there over time, but for anything new, like this is just a new thing that was just done,
Right.
that would need the commission's
But
approval.
I'm speaking of new sand that's just brought in. Brand-new beach was made by the Earls right across the pond.
We will look at that site. We
Yeah.
will look out that site. And so when you see Mr. Bichette, come by and let him have an address, and we will look
Sure.
at what is happening at that site.
Right. I didn't want to go this way. I try to bring peace everywhere every day. I've done so many good deeds for these people.
Well,
It's
that's
amazing.
above and beyond what we're here for.
I know, I got you.
You'll see Mr. Bichette about the next step of,
Okay, I thank you very much.
yeah, I think so. Want to do a fine? Or do
Maybe-
we work without
maybe-
approval?
Yes, but maybe we should do it once we decide, you know, when,
When he comes before us with a,
yeah,
If they're no-
right,
It's up to the board.
whether they need a notice.
whatever you
we're
want.
not doing a notice, we're doing a,
Well, I don't know what the extent is yet. I'd have to meet with him. It could be that he has to file a notice.
notice of intent.
Yeah.
I'll continue it.
I haven't been to the
So
site to really
this-
meet with him and go
This
over
isn't a
it.
hearing. So we can consider a fine when we get the next set of documents regarding the project.
I think
It's a hearing on the enforcement order.
Is there a
So,
hearing on the enforcement order?
Well, that's what
It's a
we're doing
discussion.
now.
It's a discussion, it's not a,
It's
Yeah,
a
this-
discussion, but the thing is we don't have enough input to make a decision, so it's gotta be,
it will be continued until we get either a notice of intent or a request for applicability, whichever one you determine is the appropriate document for this particular project.
Right.
And I would like to speak, I think we should speak to the neighbors that are putting their sump pump out onto the lawn, which is causing his major erosion. There has to
Well,
be a
we
better.
don't know that.
We don't
but-
know that, but I'm concerned about that sump pump forcing water.
It's,
Sorry, I'm sorry, I moved away from the microphone, so we can talk about
These
that.
butters are here.
Some of the, well, there's,
But-
we're not on,
Right, so it's
Yes.
your call as to what you want to do as far as
yeah.
letting others
I mean,
speak or
there,
not.
there is a concern about the water causing a washout of the sand that's going into the
That's-
pond, and I'd like to see that looked into. That's but right now, thank you for coming, and you'll see Mr. Bichette about the next action that will be taken on this particular infraction.
okay, thank you very much.
Anything else? Did I miss something?
No.
This is not a public hearing, so we can't take input.
But there will be a public hearing in the future, okay?
Yeah, as soon as you decide how the filing's gonna be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there will be a public hearing in which we can take comments.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next one. George L. Kanzin,
Cousin.
that one, 10 Jordan Road? El Kazan at 10 Jordan Road.
Yes.
Oh, you want to take your pictures? Kevin? Ken? Sorry.
Did you want to keep those?
No, well, you can submit
Bring
them
them back.
when you do your formal.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members. For the records,
Okay. Nazi, please identify yourself.
yeah, for the records, my name is Nazi Al Khalasi, and I'm presenting Mr. Al Kazan as well as Pine Grove Estates. Is it a public hearing yet?
No.
No, it's just a discussion.
Okay, I
Mr.
Mr.
believe,
Bichette will speak to why you're here,
Okay.
why this is
Yeah.
coming before us as an enforcement order.
yes.
A little while back, we had a violation at this property at 10 Jordan Road, which involved cutting of vegetation within the buffer zone to an existing wetland and pond. So at that time, we issued a cease and desist order and requested that a notice of intent be submitted to address the violation. Since that time, there's been some additional work done in the buffer zone, and we still have not received any notice of intent. So I went back down there and reviewed the site and the adjoining property, which is off the actual property of this owner, and there was some violation work that had been done on that property as well. So again, I contacted the owner and again explained that no further work should take place. Another fine was issued, and at this point, he does have JC Engineering in process preparing a notice of intent application to submit to the commission.
Is that it?
Yes,
With all the tree trimming and clearing of the brush under, okay.
yes.
Okay, I've been to the site. Sorry.
And the neighboring property, which is sort of open space land, is technically owned by an entity called Pine Grove Estates, LLC. And Nazi is involved with that, and so he can speak to that as well. So that's the nature of the work that's taken place. There's been work done again in the buffer zone on both sites. Beyond what you see there, there's some paving work that's been done and some removal of sediments and so forth. So,
So they were told to stop, and they continued.
yes.
But if I may, Madam Chair,
Yeah, in a minute. So they've stopped again?
Yes.
Okay. Now, your turn.
yeah, thank you. Just for the records, again, I had received a phone call from JC Engineering. They couldn't make it today, so short notice, I just came down here, cannot represent the owner, Pine Grove, as well as JC. I believe Brad from JC did talk to Mr. Pichette to address the matter, and he is on the process to doing plans. I believe they did discuss with you, David.
Yes.
So, and I believe there's another fine that's been imposed for $300, which I brought the check from the applicant.
Okay.
And like I said, the reason you see me tonight, because we still have interest in the open space at Pine Grove Estates. That's why Brad and you as well informed me. That's why I showed up tonight. And we hope to wrap it up. But the disturbance that was imposed on that property and the open space, I don't believe it's from Mr. Alcazar, from neighbors from long time ago. They abut the property. They're the one who did this. However, we're gonna address the matter, and Mr. Botello from JC is gonna come with a major plan before you very soon and file for notice intent, and hopefully we'll put it behind us.
Yeah, as far as some of that recent work, I do think the owner was involved with that, because there's some clear recent excavation that had to have been done with a bobcat. It's not somebody that just went down there with hand tools. And there's no trespassing signs posted that are the same signs he's got posted on his property, the same exact sign. So, in my view, I'm pretty clear that that work was likely done by him. He even talked to me about it over the phone and said that he had done some of that work.
I wasn't aware of this, madam.
He kind of, I think, regards that as, even though it's common property, as land that he can kind of do with what he wants. And I explained that that wasn't really the case, and now he understands that. But nevertheless, this work has taken place, and hopefully we'll get it addressed through the application, as you said.
Like I said, Mr. Botello from JC, as he spoke to you and explained, we're coming with a big plan, notice of intent, the whole thing. And
Right.
hopefully we'll address the whole matter.
Right.
The whole issue will be addressed.
Thank you. Questions? We'll be interested in the notice of intent. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, so we'll wait for the public hearing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Are you going to leave that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, get his check. Get his check.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. Paul O'Connell, 86 Highland Shore Road, come forward and talk to us about the enforcement order. Mr. Pichette, can you identify yourself for the record?
My name's Judith O'Connell.
Hey, Mr. Pichette will speak to the project.
This site is at 86 Highland Shores Drive, and this site was the site, Madam Chair, that you asked me to look into regarding cutting of salt marsh at this property.
Oh, yes, the Facebook one.
Oh,
Yes.
that's where it came from. That's where we wondered where that came from.
Someone gave it to me from Facebook.
I see. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So that was the reason why the enforcement letter was sent, because typically you're not allowed to cut the salt marsh as though it were lawn, let's say.
Okay.
So when this was brought to my attention, or to our attention, as the chairman saw this posting, she said we should look into this. And so when I went down there, obviously I could see the thing was cut, and so that's why we sent you the letter.
Okay.
And someone had called me and said, well, gee, you know, some of these, it wasn't you, it was, I think, a neighbor.
I don't know.
Yeah, there was a neighbor, I guess, that lives in the area that I think had done or does something similar, but hasn't done it in years, he said. But he said, geez, a lot of people used to cut the marsh, and at one point, a lot of it was beach and so on and so forth. But, you know, as I explained to him, by today's regulations, it's really not something that's allowed, if you will, to just cut the salt marsh.
Okay. Well, what about the Phragmites? And let me just say.
Yes.
Do you have anything else to add?
Well, I was just going to respond. The Phragmites can be cut if it's reviewed and approved by the commission as an
Okay.
activity. So that is an allowable thing to do.
Okay.
The cutting of the marsh grass, though, typically is not something that's okay to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me first
Sure.
explain. I've been coming to Wareham. I've lived in that house every summer for 66 years, and actually today's my birthday, so I was 2.
Happy
So-
birthday.
So, thank you. So My dad, that marsh has been cut for like 50 years. So as you can see, you know, it's like, okay, where did this come from? I have pictures on my phone, which I would like to show you. I mean, you went down there. I can tell you honestly, between my neighbors all along, that the marshland in front of my house is the healthiest, because the Phragmites obviously kill and invade and kill the marsh. And let me just show, and I apologize that I don't have pictures. I should have pictures, but I don't. But I just want to show you, if that's okay.
Yeah.
All right?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, so this is how the Phragmites grow in front of you. This is where we mow. If you look at that, do you see how healthy that is? As compared to that?
Fresh as that.
And as you can see, as you look further down the river, it's all Phragmites, and it's growing right down to the water. So it's
It does.
killing
It's
all
awful.
the marsh grass
Yeah.
that's there. Let me go back to the beginning. All right, so there's the Phragmites. This is where my husband mows and where everybody's mowed. Do you see how healthy that is? It's healthy. And it goes right, whoops, sorry. You know, and it goes right down to the water where it's not mowed. So, you know, we can let it all grow up, but what to do with the marsh? And on top of that, let me show you this. You were down there.
Yeah.
So see, it goes right down to the water, and it's all the way down, filling in the river if you've been down here. So this is where my husband mows. Look at how healthy that is. As compared to Phragmites, which has no marsh grass.
Yeah, certainly.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not the whole thing, but, and my neighbor next door has poison ivy growing all around hers, so.
We need you to go to the microphone to
I'm
speak.
sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
So my neighbor next door has all poison ivy growing around hers, so I have kids, grandkids, they throw balls down there. I mean, I'm just, like I said, it's just something that we've always done. We didn't do it purposely because we wanted to break the law.
Right, right.
Do you
No,
know
I
what I'm
understand.
saying? So,
It's just that, like I said, it was, somebody saw this and said, geez, you know what, this looks like a violation.
no,
So,
I get it completely.
See, if you hadn't posted.
I wasn't me.
If you hadn't posted,
I know.
never would have noticed all
I
the
know.
mowing marks.
I know.
Now, is that just done with like a hand-push lawnmower? Is that how
Yeah.
he's doing it?
Yeah.
And it cuts that?
Well, it does. Well, yes, because it's, most of it is good marsh.
Yeah.
So
If
you
you
have to do
look,
it at
if you, like my husband said, invite them down to look at the marsh in front of our house because it's healthy. All to the side of us, it's just Phragmites. It's killed out all the marshland.
Yeah.
We're not digging anything. We're not hurting anything. It grows right back up again
Right.
immediately. It's not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the
It's
Phragmites are a problem for sure. I mean, it's.
I mean, an ecologist would probably say to you, dig it up and get rid of it, but we're not doing that. But I'm just saying, actually, I was reading that in Europe, because that's where it came from, that they graze their animals on it to keep it down. And then by doing that, it doesn't come up as high or it disappears completely. So that's how they manage their problems over there. So it's the same principle if you're cutting it. It's just like an animal grazing on it, that it's not going to allow, it's going to allow the regular native species to grow there and not get taken over by the Phragmites. I get it. I'm all for conservation and whatever. But like I said, we've done it for so long, and we weren't doing it purposely to break any laws or to hurt anything. Definitely
Right.
not.
No, I hear you. In some areas where people have done this, it's ended up damaging the marsh either by rutting it up or, in some cases, causing the edges of the marsh to drop off or
Yeah,
sort of
no.
break off. So that's why we have to kind of monitor and review things that
I
are
get
that
it.
are done. So. Maybe what I'll do is set a time to meet with yourself or your husband
Okay.
and kind of go over
Okay.
how things should or shouldn't be done and
Okay. Yeah,
try
that's
to
fine.
try to come to a reasonable
Fine.
system here. So,
Questions, comments, actions?
Well, this isn't a hearing, correct?
To do, yeah.
Sounds like a reasonable thing for Dave to go and talk to them.
yeah, so if you want, maybe I can get a number that I can
Okay.
contact
All
one of
right.
you from. You can come write it down if
Okay.
you want.
Now, this marsh gets covered on high tide, doesn't it?
Sometimes on really high
Tide.
times it does, yes. But, years ago, do you know where we had your shoes? Yeah, when they first went in there, they were digging out boat things, I mean, that was before environmental law.
Right.
And that's, most of that has grown in.
Thank you, Judith.
All right, thank you.
That's 781?
Yes.
Okay, no, that's
Yeah, I
fine.
should-
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
You ready for the next one? Next one is Kimberly Gomes, 10 Johnson Street. Anybody here for that?
I wasn't
It's not.
necessarily expecting.
I
Okay.
figured that much when I saw, when I did see the
Oh, you do?
head.
Oh, I do. I know. I have friends that are moving from there because it's so horrible down there. They've been there for 7 years.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They came back from Florida and there was pigs in her backyard.
That's all right. It's
Well,
a
that,
comment. Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
that's kind of the subject of this discussion,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
They're my dear friends. I hate to see them move.
all right.
Bye.
All right. Yes, this particular site is at 10 Johnson Street, and there was a violation there that involved some clearing work, some alteration of the coastal bank along the Agawam River. This is a property owned sort of by the Gomes family that live down in that Oakdale area, and the official owner is Kim Lopes. So as I said,
Kim Lopes, not Kim Gomes?
No, Kim Lopes, yeah.
Okay.
So an enforcement order was issued, but it got returned to us because it didn't get signed for. So I figured nobody would show up to the meeting tonight. So I'm going to have to address that in a different way. And I did have a phone number contact from the person that I discussed this with when I found the violation initially, because they were down there still with the bobcat kind of carving the place up. So I made them stop what they were doing, talked to the guy, and, he understood that there was an issue once I explained what he should or shouldn't be doing there. And so I got his phone number, and so I'll call him back and try to get somebody in here to discuss this. They did also have pigs that they brought onto the site, and they were going to bring chickens, and they had pens set up, and I told them, this was like 25 feet from the edge of the marsh, you know what I mean? So I was like, you can't really have this here. And so they did remove that. But the violation as far as the altered area on the coastal bank is still not corrected, and that's what needs to get taken care of. So I'll try to get them in front of us or someone in front of us to discuss.
Okay. All right. Certification of compliance. Dale Heldman, 26 Arlington Road.
Is it good?
Yes, this was for a septic system upgrade that was done years ago, and they just never got a certificate of compliance, so I would recommend.
I have a motion to grant.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Okay. I guess we have one more thing to do is our minutes.
And this.
Oh, one
Still waiting for signatures.
Oh,
I can get Kenny tonight, but the other two that need to sign it are not
okay,
here.
so we need to pick up on some signatures that were missed.
Yeah.
Okay, minutes. We had 3 sets of minutes.
I was not here on the 1st, October 16th.
Was I here?
Yeah. We have one from October 16th, 2013. It took me a while to find my paperwork in my notes, and I agree with everything down here. But I will, Kenny and I were here for that.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. I will second by necessity. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 202?
Well,
No, we,
be 4-0.
400
Yeah.
for,
right.
Oh,
don't have
but
to
how
abstain.
did,
I don't have to abstain either, even if you
I thought
weren't
they had to
here.
unless they've seen the
No.
tape.
No.
No.
As long as they read the minutes and agree that those are the minutes, then that's fine.
Okay, we have 400. Before I go on to the next two, one quick, sorry, Kenny, I'll make this. About 5 years ago, I asked for a list of the minutes that were outstanding, and I lost my notes. Can you ask Kelly to get us a full list of the minutes that are still open for, it was, looked at this quite, with 13, I'm supposed to remember what was said back then. Okay, the next set of minutes was May 1st, 2019.
I read
We
those.
were all here.
I read those, those seem,
motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve.
second?
I heard a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 400. We have minutes from July 17th. Kenny was not here.
Abstain.
They looked really good.
Okay, motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Well,
I got a second, yep. All in favor?
Aye.
400.
For it.
There, all the minutes are done. Kenny needs to sign a document for you.
Already did.
Did.
He did. We have, Mr. Smith has been reappointed. Is there anything else on here we want to talk about, Mr.
Did you find
Bichette?
out on your firefighters what they're using for soap when they
Not
do
yet.
their washing?
The firefighters and what they're using for soap?
Yeah, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
What
For,
soap are they putting down our stormwater drains when they wash their vehicles in the parking lot? The same thing with all the nonprofits that are washing cars. Okay, and that's it?
That's it.
Magic words?
So-
I have a motion to adjourn.
second,
Oh, I got a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Yay, opposed, abstained, done.
thank you.
8:22.
Two.
Will we see you?